So thank you all for having me here today. You know, as I look out in the audience, I see a lot of friends out there, and I know that the economy in 2009 and this year has been very challenging, but I'm very thankful that we live in such a great area, have such a great community, and we're in a great business. And our market has fared up pretty well when you compare it to some other markets, so thankful for that. So what we're going to talk to you about today is lease versus own decision making, and I thought I would start with giving you a couple of examples of buildings that have been purchased by investors that have companies as owner users, so you can see a little bit about what we're talking about. Okay, so this first building, this was purchased by a company called Advanced Thin Films. This is in Flatiron Park, and they purchased this for $4.6 million. This was an SBA loan, and one of their factors for considering this building is they were in Longmont, they wanted to be in Boulder, and one of the reasons they wanted to own their own building was they had a custom, pretty sophisticated custom clean room requirement. And so they found this building, they occupy the ground level and the main level, and then lease out part of the second floor. This was early 2008. And the next one. So this was late 2008. This is 4755 Walnut. This was purchased by Eco Products. They occupy pretty much the entire building. They did do a small sublease on some of their space, about 2,000 square feet. So this building is a little over 20,000 square feet. They purchased this for $3 million. And Steve Savage, the owner of Eco Products, is a longtime Boulder resident, likes to own real estate, and that was part of his decision-making here. But one of the benefits that he has with owning this building is that one of the first things that he did was installed a full solar array, which when you own the building, that's easier to do than when you're a tenant. So this was a transaction earlier this year. This is 1801 Pearl Street. This building was purchased by Shoemaker, Gazzelli & Schwartz. They're a local law firm, and the purchase price was $2.175 million. They occupy, as an owner-user, the second floor and the third floor for their office space, and then the first floor is leased out to Title IX Sports and Angie Star. And this building is a condo unit in the Steel Yards. This was purchased by Integral Inc. They're a structural engineering firm. They purchased this, closed on it about 2 months ago, and this purchase price was $300,000, and they're using it for their office space. So the question of what factors do these companies consider when making a buy versus lease decision? Usually these are companies that will sign a long-term lease on the building, so they have a captive tenant, and typically they plan on being in the building for the long term, usually a minimum of 5 years, but quite frequently they haven't the intent of being there longer than that. From an investment perspective on these properties, what we do is we put together an analysis, an investment analysis that shows the owners how the asset will perform for them with certain variables and assumptions. It allows us to do what-if analysis. We can modify our assumptions. It'll show them their cash-on-cash return, benefits of depreciation, the appreciation impacts, of the property, and their projected internal rate of return. So they are people that purchase these buildings that enjoy the opportunity of having a captive tenant with their company signing a lease in the building. So again, they basically look at these projects with their appreciation, cash on cash, depreciation impacts, and also another important variable is debt reduction. From a tenant perspective for their companies, one of the benefits from owning their properties is that they control their rent. They determine, rather than some other landlord, what their escalation is going to be. They have more control on the property, just like with Eco Products putting a solar array on their building, or Advanced Thin Film investing heavily in some clean rooms that they can appreciate that investment for the long term. Some reasons why you might choose not to buy a commercial property if you're analyzing the lease versus own is if your company is growing rapidly or changing rapidly. Capital, if your capital is better invested in your business, because, and I'll get to the lending market in a minute, but usually a company will need to put 10% down on a purchase transaction if they can get SBA financing if they're an owner-user. Timing, if your company might only be in the building for 5 years or less. And also lease rates. If you can find a space for your company where the lease rate is very attractive and it's less expensive than, or you can't find the right product for sale and it might just be less expensive, so you may decide to lease. And then another slide. So another element with owner-user transactions are what type of financing is available, and this is something that is driving the owner-user market because what most companies do is apply for an SBA loan. And the SBA loan allows them to put much less down than a conventional loan. Typically it's 10%. Right now in this market, in this climate and economy, lenders enjoy doing SBA loans because they'll take a first on 50% of the purchase price, and the SBA will take a second on 40%, and then the buyer puts 10% down. So there's very little risk to the lender. The debenture that sold yesterday, November 17th, just to give you an idea, this is for an SBA 504 loan, sold at 5.102%. What's interesting about that rate and a benefit to the buyer of these properties for the owner users is that that rate is fixed for 20 years. That's a pretty great deal and a pretty great rate. For any of you that want to see historic rate trends on SBA loans or learn more about SBA loans, there's a great website. You may want to take this down. It's coloradolendingsource.org. And it's very helpful, and they're a nonprofit assisting with SBA loans, and they're very good and can answer your questions. And lastly, I wanted to show you a few properties that are currently on the market now that are examples of what owner users may be looking for in the market. So this first building, this is Eco Products building that they had purchased prior to the last building, 4755 Walnut. This is 3640 Walnut, which is east of 30th Street on Walnut. They currently still occupy this building, but their needs are somewhat flexible, so they're willing to vacate. So this is available for sale and for lease. It's approximately 20,000 square feet and has a 4,000 square foot tenant in the front part of the building. This is in receivership with GE Capital. This is 1700 South 120th Avenue in Lafayette. This is a great price on this property at $1.2 million. The lot size here it's on a large lot that's got a fenced-in yard. It's 2.47 acres. There's two buildings that total 26,000 square feet. So this is a great owner-user opportunity, especially if you have a client that has a requirement for some yard space. And this next one is 1408 Horizon in Lafayette. This building's approximately 20,000, a little over 20,000 square feet. It's for sale for $2.1 million, or for lease at 850 triple net. And this building mostly consists of office space, lab space, and some warehouse component. This is 1724 Broadway. You'll probably recognize this. This is on the northeast corner of Arapahoe and Broadway. It was a restaurant, and basically it's right now positioned for either a restaurant type use, or it could even be a nightclub or an office use. It's a really great location, and that building's for sale for $1.55 million. This next one, this is a historic mansion on Broadway, 2229 Broadway. This is for sale for $1.325 million. They did a great job on a historical rehabilitation on this building and expansion. So it's really got elegant finishes on the interior and nice light. It's a nice space. So that's $1.325 million, R for lease at 22 triple net. And this next building, this is a condo unit in the Holiday neighborhood. This is 1300 Yellow Pine. This unit is 1,470 square feet for sale at $520,000. And then one area of our market that I wanted to touch on, because it is prevalent for owner users, is basically mixed-use developments and condo projects. And this slide is of the Steel Yards project, which has been a very successful mixed-use development. There's several office and retail condos and residential condos as well, but a very unique energy in this project.
I'm pretty good at this, aren't I?
You are. Thank you. And this is a picture of Uptown Broadway, which again is another condo project in Boulder that has been very successful. There's a mix of office and retail condos and that are still for sale, and Gary Abusi and Scott Smith have an investment property for sale at this property as well. And so I just wanted to touch on the condo market just briefly, because it is an important, there are a lot of sales that occur in our market that are condos, either office or retail, and some industrial as well.